tell you the truth, I didn't really know her. I mean, I do have memories of her, but it was after she was gripped by old age. But honestly, I really didn't know her. We're on our way to Bowling Cemetery, up on top of the hill here in Hitchens, Kentucky. It's up on this ridge where the final resting place of Florence Hay salmons is located. I knew that if I had any hope of finding out who Florence Hay really was, I had to seek those who knew her best. So that's what I would do. I started this journey to learn more about my great-grandmother and to share my findings with others. As I walked out of the cemetery, I left with a mission to tell this story. And to tell the story, it's best to start at the beginning. Florence was born on Thanksgiving Day, 1898, in a small, unincorporated community nestled in the hills of northeast Kentucky called Maisie.
It's a small place up in Lawrence County. It's about all I know about it. Just a wide spot in the road. There's not much there anymore. And the old house is gone. Used to be a post office there, and there used to be a church there.
I just know that once a year we went to Maisie to the cemetery. My grandpa lived there. Grandpa was a circuit preacher, and he was gone most of the time, so it was left up to the mother to take care of all of the kids.
He told me he'd been a preacher for, I don't know, many, many years, kind of like a circuit rider. He'd leave home on a horse. He'd been gone as high as 4 months. One time he went down to going over in Ohio, but he went down to South Portsmouth, and they just, I don't guess they had the bridges at that time, and they run a ferry. Well, the guy that run the ferry said, since you're the only one, he said, would you be afraid to go across in a boat rather than take the ferry? He said, I'd run you across. He said, but I'm not afraid. Well, he's a preacher. He said, we got in that little, he called it a skiff. Said we'd gone about 50 yards, them white caps are busting. He said, I'd told a lie. I was afraid. He was born on Thanksgiving Day, 1898. I think she was the third out of eight girls. There was one boy, but he died as a young kid, so he raised 8 girls. I've heard Mother tell, after her and Dad married, from where we lived at Hitchens to where she was at in Maisie, they took a wagon and got what she had for housekeeping. An all-day journey up there and an all-day back. I've heard her tell it was 5 years before she was back to Maisie from Hitchens. Well, she moved to Carter County after her and Dad married, probably about first part of 32.
Well, I guess we were poor, but we didn't know it.
We were poor, but we didn't know it. She always provided for us. She always cooked and made sure we had stuff to eat, plenty to eat.
When the preachers were there, or company on Sundays, she'd have fried chicken, and we'd all sit back and hope that they had some left. But then she got so she'd hide us back some. So that was good. Mother always had something baked. She always had a good meal for us. And one time we lived out in the flood zone where the house got flooded, and they had put a coal stove upstairs so we could have heat. And she cooked on it, and I remember her making gingerbread for us upstairs. And we could sit on the steps and look at the water.
Dad fixed a shed like outside to can, and they bought a big pressure cooker, big pressure canner. It would hold 14 quarts, 7 and 7, and she was afraid of it. Well, I was a big old boy. I guess they're going to sacrifice me, but I learned to can with that. Well, they'd get the beans and whatever was a canning ready, and I would maybe build a wood fire, coal outside on an old stove, and I would can that. And I still have that canner today. I was grown, and I went over to visit her one day, and she had made something, I don't know, maybe a cake or something. But I said, Mother, I'd like to have that recipe. So I got me a paper and a pencil. She said, well, just take flour and just pour so much in a cooker or, a pan. I said, well, just pour some out of the bag. So I don't know how much. I said, well, what else you do? Well, you just get a handful of this and a dash of that and a shake of this, a pinch of this. I just folded it up and stuck it in my pocket. Raised 10 kids of her own and had 4 step-kids. So a total of 14.
Mother would hoe in the garden. She'd take her hoe out early in the morning or late in the evening, and she'd put her bonnet and her apron on, and she had her heart pills in her pocket and work in the garden.
And we had eggs. We sell eggs. Mother would take a basket and go to the stores, swap them for necessities. Had plenty of fried chicken. Got started young. We still love chicken. Well, yeah, you had to, she would dress up in a big pair of overalls and take us kids berry picking. She would can as long as there was a jar to put something in, and she was very generous. If somebody come, she had to give them something when they left, and normally it was something that she'd can, preserve. And the girls always said she was so, that if somebody come in and robbed her, I don't know what they would get, but if they helped you up, she'd say, well, here, take a jar of this or that home with you as you go.
I told her if somebody would rob her, she'd give them a jar of jelly. take on with them.
I said, Mother, well, actually, she was kind of a medicine woman in the community. And I remember a neighbor kid drunk kerosene one time, and of course they come running from Mother to come and see what she could do for it. And she took off. I don't know, the kid didn't die, so I guess she, oh yeah, she'd like to use that castor oil and all them home remedies. She put that take an old piece of wool and put big salve on it, slap it on your chest if you had a cold, and then get that aspidity bag and wear it around your neck.
Yeah, she made wine, and she'd keep it. She made it usually a gallon, and she made it for the sick. And if anybody was sick, well, she'd go and take it or whatever. But I got pretty sick. There were a few times I had to sample it. Oh, you didn't want to be there. You got punished. There was no second time telling us. She was very fiery.
Oh yeah, she liked to correct. She knew how to swing that switch. I remember, of course, I was a great big kid. I was about grown. And the baby one in the family, my sister, Frida, she had done something and Mother told her not to. I don't remember exactly. I could probably think and tell you what it was, but anyhow, Mother was whipping her, and she fell right down in the floor. And Mother was laying a lash to her from a switch. And I jumped up and I said, Mother, that's enough. She said, big boy. She turned right around them little eyes, swinging that switch at me. And she said, big boy, I'll give you some of this, you fool with me. And tell you the truth, she would have done it.
She was constantly after the grandkids. I'll tell this one tale about Kathy. Kathy loved watermelon. And Mother had grew some big squash out in the garden, cushaws. And she told Kathy, says, now I got them out there, don't bother them. So Kathy's determined there was watermelons, and she went out and plugged every one of them. Granny chased her around that building, I don't know how many times, with a switch.
I'd done something, and I was a small kid. I don't know what I'd done, but she didn't correct me. And I'd eyeball around all day. And I thought, man, I've got by this. I'll never forget. I was in a back room there in bed, covered up. And I thought I heard something. About that time, whoosh, that cover went off and she had me.
Oh yeah, I rode the bicycle with this boy, and I got told on, and I got in trouble over that. Of course, I ended up marrying him, so. Elmer and Delmer, the twin brothers, they told that I rode the bicycle with him. Of course, I was in the front, you know, and he was at handlebars. And went home, they couldn't wait to get home and tell on me. And I got a paddling. She always talked about God.
Okay, she always went. We have camp every year, and she always went to camp and would stay the week of camp, and she would even go help cook and different things, you know. Peel apples, she talks about all the time. And the way I understand it, Grandpa Hay had one of those cabins down there was his, and she would go stay in that all the time. But yeah, she always went to camp because her dad was one of the founders, I think, and she always went to camp.
She went to church when she could, and visited neighbors, and I do remember that. Once a week, her and one of the other ladies would go and visit all the shut-in, and everybody around, and they'd walk and go to visit them.
I remember that I wasn't a Christian, and I was pretty hard-hearted. And Granny said, Granny Salmons is the one, really, I said I give her credit for me being a Christian. Because she said, Charlene, She said, if the Lord ever deals with you, said, you better do something about it because you're just really hard-hearted. And that scared me. It really, and it did. It put me to thinking. It scared me. And it wasn't too long after that I got saved.
I remember when Clyde Denzel was probably already in service, but he went in out in Washington, which he did. And he had been called up and been for examination. And the night before he left the next morning, I can remember her having him to get down, and she prayed for him. That has never left my mind. And she just poured her heart out.
That's right, exactly.
Very kind to a degree.
She was a good mother. She took care of us, and I ain't got nothing bad to say about her. I mean, it's a little different than they are today, but you know, what she said, she enforced what she said. She's very firm.
And we knew to respect her. If we didn't, she had a switch there. She had this one song, and she would sing it to the grandchildren, or something about the fox jumped up one moonlight night, and all this. And when she was in the nursing home, I got her this little book, and it had that in it, that story in it. And I would just show her the book, and she'd start singing it.
But I met this guy in Grayson, which was Ida's grandson, and I'm his grandson. So we met and got to talking. He was telling me that after Ida married, or Grandpa married Ida, that she smoked a pipe. And he didn't believe in using tobacco. So he told her, said, now Ida, you've got to quit smoking that pipe. Well, I guess she had the habit. So finally, it come to the place that he got it and threw it away. Well, they come to find out, she She was going down to the neighbors and smoking her pipe.